guys, so today I thought we would talk about essentially ending the vicious repetitive cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, of ending the month with $0, and not because you have invested money or saved money or anything like that, of ending the month in the red because your account is in the negative, all of that. So my husband and I were once in a similar situation a few months ago, actually, I guess like March-ish, and that was that moment for us where we were like, okay, something's got to give. Mind you, it only lasted 1 month. It was just a bad series of events that took place in March, and that's really not the important part. The important part is what we did to fix it. So that was the situation that caused us to be like, okay, something's got to give. We have to get our lives together, if only financially, and get out of this rut, because this is certainly not something that we wanted to experience during our first year of marriage, and certainly not something we wanted to take with us into our second year of marriage or anything like that. So that was the time for us where we were fed up. So anyway, if any of those the descriptions that I gave to you guys at the beginning of the video, if they fit any of you, now would be the time to continue to watch this video and to invest in this video and not to exit out of this video. If none of those are you, if you do not care, exit now. But if you want to listen to what my husband and I did to move through that situation, then please keep watching. I do have notes here because I did not come to play. I absolutely have come to give it to you real and to share with y'all what it is that we did. So the steps that I'm about to give to y'all are essentially designed for, it's like a mini 3-month program. And essentially we did it in like 2 months, or maybe like 1 month, 1.5. I don't even know. I just know that it was easier for us because there are 2 of us, and because we have 2 incomes and all of that. Not a lot of people have 2 people's incomes, or single parents out there, or just single people out there, or whatever. But I think that it will work for everyone if you are willing to make the much needed sacrifices. So I've basically divided this up into months, and within those months are the steps that my husband and I took. So month 1, I am going to recommend to cut up or literally freeze your credit cards. And I mean like put them in a Ziploc bag with water in there and then literally freeze them in the freezer. For us, our credit cards were essentially like maxed out, basically. They were not swipeable because they didn't have any money on them. So, I mean, they weren't like completely maxed out. Or we had a couple that didn't have... We had, how you have like store credit cards, not like general credit cards. We had the general credit cards were certainly basically maxed out. I mean, it was I'm sure they had like $30 each on there for available credit, but the store ones were not maxed out by any means. But who wants to go to, Care Credit and swipe their, you can't go to Care Credit, but who wants to swipe their Care Credit card or their Best Buy credit card or whatever? Those ones weren't essentially maxed out, but the general ones were. So basically we didn't really have to freeze them or anything like that because they didn't have any money on them. But we did place them somewhere that basically I had lost them until just the other day. So I don't know where they were all. I found some of them in my car and all kinds of stuff. I don't even know, y'all, but we didn't have them in our clear direct sight. We put them out of sight, out of mind. So, but if you have like available credit on your credit card, or you swiped yours, we've never been like avid swipers. Essentially what we did is ran them all up and put minimum payments on them for years. So if you're like an avid swiper, there's something up there, some kind of animal. I think it's a squirrel on the roof. It's a little bit weird. I just hope it doesn't fall in here. But if you're like an avid swiper, I would say freeze them, cut them up. Just, you can get a new one at a later date once you're out of credit card debt or once you're in a better place. But if that is you, I would say to just completely shred them or cut them up or get rid of them. Why? Because we are committing to no new debt. So that means we cannot take out one last payday loan. We cannot take out one last personal loan. We cannot ask our parents for some money unless they're going to give it to us and not, expect us to pay it back. We cannot get any new debt, because if we are going to continue to use debt, we may as well continue on how we're continuing on. There's no point in trying hard to move through that situation or to stop that cycle if you're going to do the same things that continue the cycle. So we're committing to no new debt. Next thing that we're doing, and all of this is essentially relative, is these are things that you need to do within the month. I've just not put them in like any type of order. I'm just throwing them all out there. The next thing that you need to do is to create a written or an online budget. I like the online budgets because those companies usually have like an app, so it's it's easy. I don't ever like have any kind of thing going on. I would be basically dying when I'm trying to record this video. But most of the companies, I feel like, that have websites, they also have apps, so it's super easy to like add in a transaction on your phone, or add your budget in on your phone, or add an expense on your phone, or any of that, because it's at our fingertips and we're normally on our phones all the time, so it's so easy to do that. But so I have my budget here, well, this is Facebook, and I have my budget in this planner here. So when I'm home, I'm normally like in the budget planner, otherwise I'm on my phone. Anyway, we are creating a written and an online budget. If you don't know what an every dollar budget is, I advise you to start researching that now. A lot of times people will do a budget and they'll budget for like the important things, but then they'll have like a few $100s or so left over at the end of the month, and they haven't really given it any purpose or any job. So what we need to do is we need to allocate every single dollar. If you have $400 left over at the end of the month, you need to decide, or if you're going to put that in savings, if you're going to invest that, or you're going to put that towards debt. Like, what are you going to do with that money? You have to do something with it. You can't just have it left over. Why? Because when you have $400 extra in your budget and you've not given it a job, that money is probably going to be spent whenever the end of the month gets here, and you're trying to figure out where that $400 went, because you had $400 extra at the beginning of the month, but you don't have it anymore. So that's why we need to give every dollar a job. We need to tell our money where to go instead of wondering where the heck it went at the end of the month. Part of that budget, and I feel like you're not really doing a budget unless you do this, is tracking your expenses. So you have to track your expenses. If you give your kid $1 for allowance, if you go through the drive-through for $2, if you go to the grocery store and you spend $50, if you go right back to the grocery store the same day and spend $20, you need to track all of that, because there's no real point of doing a budget if at the end of the month you haven't tracked your expenses and you don't even know where your money went or which categories the money went in or anything like that. You have to track your expenses. So that's also something that we're going to be doing. The next thing that we're going to be doing is trying to be as frugal and non-frivolous as possible. So when you're being intentional with your money and telling your money where to go, there's not, a lot of room for any like reckless spending. So when you're saying I'm going to spend $300 on groceries and $10 eating out for the month, then you're going to spend $300 on groceries and $10 eating out. You made that decision. It's like you're holding your own self accountable, and you're saying what your plan for your money is going to be. So oftentimes, even now, of course, we'll go over budget, or I know other people go over budget, but essentially if I go over in groceries or restaurants, that I need to take that money from groceries. It has to balance out. So at the end of the month, your budget has to balance out. If you go over in one category, you need to make sure you're under in the next. Such as how a budget works. You can't have a surplus in every single category, because that means that you're living above your means. So anyway, all of that to say, we are being frugal with our money. We are being intentional. That means that we're not doing a lot of eating out, which was big for us, which is why I keep talking about it. We are not doing a lot of taking our kids to Chuck E. Cheese, or just a lot of stuff that we really don't have to do. Things that cost money and things that do not really need to take place, things that are not necessities. we're not spending our money on things that are not necessities. We can't, because we're living paycheck to paycheck, or we're ending the month with $0, or we have a negative balance at the end of the month. You don't have the money to do any of those luxurious things. You just don't. So we're not doing any of that. Also, we are focusing heavily on taking care of our 4 walls. So what I mean is your rent, your mortgage, your electricity, your water. When you do your budget, you need to make sure you're allocating money for all of those important things. If you're doing your budget and you're getting closer and closer to zero, and there is no money in the budget for you to be able to pay your student loan payment, your minimum payment, then you don't pay your student loan payment. I know it sounds crazy, but in the final analysis, do you want a roof over your head, or do you want an on-time student loan payment? You're already in debt anyway. Does it really matter if you call the student loan people and ask them tell them that you're gonna have to miss this payment and that you'll pay it next time? In fact, I've missed a student loan payment and I don't need to call them. I just pay it twice whenever I pay that old one and the new one whenever the new one rolled around or whatever. That's just what you have to do. It's just what it is. You have to prioritize your money and your spending. We don't need to be breaking our necks trying to figure out how we're going to do our student loan payment or our credit card payment or any of those debt payments. The only one that really even would essentially matter in all of this is your car payment, because you need that to get to and from work, to make the money, to make the budget work. So that's really the only one that's important. But as for me, there has been a time where I had to you can do it like once a year. You can call your car loan person and the lien holder and ask, like, you have to like prove that you have like a poor financial situation or you've come into some kind of crisis or something, and they'll usually allow you to put that car payment on the back of the loan, which means that you just extend your loan by 1 month basically, and they'll let you do that. And like I said, I think they let you do it like once a year or something like that, but that's an option that you can do. But pretty much you're taking care of your 4 walls, which is this here. So yes, if it comes in, just to reiterate, if it comes down to groceries or car payment or rent or student loan payment, you are choosing the one that is obvious. This one, not this one. Not debts, payments, but rent and electricity and 4 walls payments. So, excuse me, I'm having all kinds of things going on, but you know what? We're still going to post this video because we're 13 minutes in. What I would like to think is, after you've made it through month 1 and you've cut back and you did X, Y, Z, if you still don't have any extra money, then I think that you have an income problem, and you'll never get ahead unless you increase your income or decrease your expenses even further. So that is something that you can explore during month 2. Of course, you are doing your budget again. It should be a little bit easier during month 2. You are exploring last month's budget and seeing where you can cut expenses further. Again, that's something that I want to emphasize during month 2. You're seeing where you can further cut expenses. Can you catch the bus to work for $30 a month or whatever, there and back, instead of gas or something like that? You have to go a little bit harder because you are in a really poor situation. And for those, I feel like, who have kids, they can't really just mess around like that, because you have other people dependent on you, little people dependent on you, who can't work and do all this stuff. So you have to make large sacrifices. So maybe you have to catch the bus. Maybe you start unplugging things so to keep your electricity bill down. Maybe you stop running the water whenever you're brushing your teeth or something like that. You have to make further cuts in your budget. Also, I would like to think that if you didn't make it through month 1, all of that well, and you're in need of extra money, I would like to think that would be an appropriate time to start asking about some overtime, applying for part-time jobs, selling things, donating plasma, any kind of side hustle, anything to bring in some extra money. Again, we kind of did this in like 1 month, but like I said, if at the end of that first month we didn't have any money, then we would have had a huge problem, and that's when we would need to try to further cut or increase our income. So during month 2, that is what I'm assuming would need to take place. At that point, I would also think that because you've increased your income and because you've cut back expenses even further to literally like the bare necessities, you should have a surplus in income, and that should be when you are able to get caught up on those payments that you skipped, or get caught up on whatever other debt payments or whatever it is that you have. I know a lot of people don't even have debt payments or any kind of debts. They just kind of live paycheck to paycheck. But for the most part, I'm speaking to people who have debt payments because that's the situation that we were and are still in. Pretty much after month 2, I think that's when you decide whether you need to continue to go harder during month 3, whether you need to continue to increase your income. If you decreased your expenses enough and you're managing the budget pretty well and you feel that you can maybe cut back on your extra hours or something like that, I think that's when, it will be up to you to decide that. As for us, we continue to increase our income because at this point, about 3 months in, 3 months in or whatever, that's when we decided that we were going to go really hard with paying off our debts. Currently, we pay $700 a month for debts, car loans, student loans, all of that added together. Minimum payments is $700. We do not want to continue to spend $700 on debts every month, so we're working to pay off all of our debts, every single last one of them. $700 compared to our income or whatever probably doesn't seem like that much money or whatever to the average person, or maybe, but when you're being intentional with your money and you've been budgeting for a pretty good amount of time and you're seeing that $700 of your hard-earned money is going to debt, it just makes you kind of like upset with the fact that you're spending so much of your money is just going to debt when it could be going to savings or investing or retirement or whatever the case is. So anyway, I hope I didn't skip out on anything. I pretty much just shared what we did, and I think that, I did a pretty good job of that, because I don't think that I've really left anything out. It's just a matter of cutting your expenses drastically, picking up income if you have to, budgeting, seeing where your money is going. I mean, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're just in some kind of financial bind like we were, you have to do things that you've never done before, and you have to just go as hard as you never had. So those are, that's just the advice that I give. Anyway, I hope I've been looking at this camera the whole time and not up here at the time. But anyway, if you guys have any questions, do let me know. I'm Shay Budgets on YouTube, obviously, but I meant to say that I am shaybudgets@gmail.com for those who need to email me, or if you need to message me or call me or comment down below or whatever the case is. Please do that. Otherwise, I will be back in like 3 days to do our paycheck to paycheck budget. Yeah. Bye, guys.